welcome back. So today I'll be covering my race at the Hammer Criterium. So the Hammer Criterium takes place on the same course as the Red R Criterium that happened around like a month ago in June. So the only difference now at this time is the course is going to be reversed, and for those that didn't watch the other videos, basically the course is going to be two 90-degree corners with a large curve, so it forms just a general D shape. My name is Dennis, and I'm going to be racing in a Cat 4-5 race, which is going to be around 35 minutes. So when it gets towards the end, the organizers will start announcing the number of laps. And my goal for this race is mainly to stick with the pack and be more comfortable moving around in the pack. And a far-fetched goal is going to be getting on a breakaway. And we're around 20 seconds out from the start, so announcers just announcing what kind of prizes is available. And the winner of this race gets a golden hammer. And we're away, so started from a little bit in the back, but everyone is just like together at the front. So, and also being a crit, so usually people stick together for most of the race. And so I did the Red R Criterium like a month ago. So from that race, I learned that during the corners, people usually slow down a lot and have to break into the corners. So those areas are key areas where I can target to save energy. And also, depending on your positioning, if you're on the outside, inside, or the middle, you can easily gain many places through the corners. So for this race, my other goal is just to stay as efficient as possible to save as much energy towards the end. So in the beginning, I was just keeping my power, like not getting too much power through the pedals, just trying to ease into it, keeping it smooth. So then first two corners, I'm still trying to figure things out with everyone, and on this course being the reverse direction, so you can still see I'm still surging a little bit through after coming through the corner. And also part of like trying not to surge is like for the most part during the race, I keep myself seated in the saddle. This way I don't have to stand on the saddle and burn through matches. So at this point, we're still relatively together. I'm right now not behind anyone's wheel, which is I'm eating wind, but luckily this section is on the straightaway, in the finish line straightaway. It's a tailwind, so it's not too bad to be just exposed. But when you turn on the corner to this section, this is where it gets to the headwinds, and you want to be really behind someone's draft and like just sitting in for the beginning of the race, because this race is going to be 35 minutes long, and you don't want to be like expending all your energy in the beginning only to get overtaken by other people in the second half. So that's what I do. First half of the race, I'm just going to take it chill, just sit in the group, conserve energy as much as possible. And then you can see other people, like other than the first lap, usually for the entirety like of the middle part of the race, everyone just takes it easy, unless there's people going on attacks and breakaways. Then the pack might speed up and try to catch the other riders. But for most of this part, you see right here, we're just taking it easy. My power is like, I'm not even going over 200 watts, so relatively just coasting through the corner and slightly surging through after coming out. And 300 watts is not too bad for me. I remember last race I was like at around 400, 500 watts coming out the corner surging, so this is much better, like just staying around 300, staying below 350. And here you can see my hands are like on the corner of the screen, and whenever you see my hands are there, I'm usually just like in an aero hood position, trying to tuck in as much as possible, try to get as aero as possible, because we're going right now 27 miles per hour, 28, sometimes even up to 30 miles per hour. So being aero really helps, saves a lot of energy at this speed. even if you're drafting someone else, you're still going to be trying to overcome wind resistance, so being aero just really helps save energy. And you can also see that I keep my cadence pretty high. I like to keep my cadence like pretty high. I don't really watch my cadence, but my cadence just naturally drifts above 100, like from 95 to 100 during the race. So it tends to keep my heart rate pretty high, but the benefit of that is that I don't really have that much muscular fatigue later on during the race, so I can lean more on my muscles to power through at the end. Because I read some studies that and heard other people say your heart, like your cardiovascular system, it recovers much faster than your muscles. So my strategy is just to keep my cadence high, just to keep up and just save the legs for the end. And here you see there's gaps opening up already, so sometimes even if you're sitting behind someone else's wheel, they might let a gap open, so sometimes you have to close down multiple gaps. And I just try to keep it smooth right here. See, not even going, like if I stay in the aero hood position and in a tailwind, I don't really have to expend that much energy to catch up, like not even 300 watts. So that's always a plus for me to save energy. And here we are speeding up. I can't really see what's happening at the front of the race while I was racing, and I wasn't really paying attention to that anyways, because I was just focused on trying to keep up with the pack and not expend too much energy. And the reason, see here, I'm moving up, even though it's a headwind here, I'm able to move up some places. The reason I want to move up is because during crits, positioning is very important, and if you're not at the front of the pack, say you're the last 5 riders or anything, in the back of the pack, during corners, so the pack just slows down before the corner usually. The first rider might not slow down, but because the first rider can take their own line, he does have to slow down. But the second rider, because the first rider is going through the corner, he might have to slow down, adjust his line to not collide with anyone. So this keeps on going, and it's a domino effect towards the back of the packs, which causes larger gaps to open up. So if you're in the back of the pack going through corners, you're really at a disadvantage, because once you come out of the corner, the field's going to be really strung out and you have to expend a lot of power to catch up. So here I'm in a straightaway, and I just take this opportunity in a tailwind to move up as much as possible, so I don't have to surge coming out the corner. And luckily I find some wheel to catch onto, so I can save some energy. And being at the front of the pack, even though you have better positioning, you're eating more winds, which you also have to take into consideration. So the best position usually during a crit is the first 10 positions in a pack. Say that way, you don't have to brake or coast too much coming into the corner, so you keep most of your speed through the corners, meaning that when you come out of the corner, you don't have to surge as much to try to catch back up. And also during the corners, I found that if you're able to get in someone's draft, to draft all the way through the corner, just not let go of someone's wheel halfway through, you can really keep a lot of your speed. And coming out the corner when you're in draft, you also are already, as I said, you're already in someone's draft, so you're also always just saving energy. And here again, on the inside of the corner, sometimes it's a little bit sketchy if there's a lot of riders coming together, but this one is okay since we're I think riding around 2 to 3 abreast, so we had plenty of space. And this being an industrial park on Swan Island in Portland, Oregon, means that we have plenty of room during the corners to maneuver, especially if you're on the outside. And during these courses, of course, sometimes on the inside, if you saw earlier, there's some storm drain, so you have to watch out for those. Luckily, the organizers were able to mark them with the yellow chevrons, so if like after a few laps you get to know where all the obstacles are, and you learn to like avoid them. But it's also important, like throughout the race, to not just stare at the wheel in front of you. You also want to occasionally look ahead to see what obstacles are coming your way, or if some rider or something happened ahead. So just being aware of everyone else and where you are according to other people is always a good thing during the race. And you see the corners, you just want to keep your line, be as predictable as possible through the corners, since the corners is not really where you want to mainly focus on overtaking, especially at Cat 5. At Cat 5, you just want to be smooth through the corners, because the corners are the most dangerous areas. That's like usually where all the crashes happen. Like coming into the corner or coming out the corner. So you just want to keep it smooth and steady and predictable through the corners. And then during the straightaway, you're free to pass out the riders or do whatever you want. And here I'm just still keeping it smooth, keeping the power down. Because during the race, you don't want to be doing FTP tests or anything like that. You want to conserve as much possible. You want to take it as easy as possible for the majority of the race. And only use energy when you want to. Say, for example, like on a breakaway or during the final sprint, if you're a sprinter. And I found that this race, I don't think I because I was more keen on like moving around in the pack, like moving up and getting better positions through the corners. I wasn't like just following one person's wheel for the whole time, so you'll see me like being exposed to the wind for more than like last time in the crit. So that's also something I have to work on next time, like always just finding someone's wheel to hang on to, conserving as much energy as possible. And you see, like, during the corners, even though like the inside line you get compressed more, if you're able to take the inside line without like causing too much trouble, you can actually gain places. Like you can gain like one bike length ahead during the corner. So that's like what I didn't I thought it was like going on the outside line would be better this time, but apparently like if you stay on the inside, you can actually conserve a lot of energy and keep move up places. So I learned about that like part way through the race. So that's something also good to know. Here you see my hands are on the corner of the screens. That means I'm already in the aero position, trying to conserve as much energy as possible. And you'll hear me say this again: conserve energy, conserve energy. And here, like, the pack is like, there's not too many places for me to move into, so I'm currently eating some wind, so you'll see my power just be a little bit higher than the other parts of the race. But yeah, mainly just keeping it pretty steady, getting behind other riders' wheels. And also I want to talk about like race strategy. So like depending on what kind of rider you are, say if you're like a very powerful sprinter, you might want to just stick with the pack till the end and compete for the bunch sprint. But I know that I don't really have that great of a sprint at the end, so during these first few crit races I'm not really aiming to like do breakaways, but I know that in the future either it's that I need to improve my sprint or I just need to get in more breakaways in the future. Like meaning that like if I just stay with the pack, I'm pretty sure people are going to beat me, but for me to win, I need to like do what's play to my strengths, or like play to whatever I'm not as bad as in. So breakaways is going to be key for me in the future if I want to win, or just place higher. But during this race, I think most of the breakaways were brought back, and I think at lower categories, like during breakaways, riders might not have that much tactics to like work with each other, so people might just be by themselves. So if when you move higher into the categories, people are more like aware of breakaways, and if people are in a breakaway together, they're more likely to help each other. So that's also something to keep in mind at racing at these crits. And also like pretty surprised at this point, like for the majority at this point, I don't think I've gone out of my saddle. So if I get out of the saddle, I pretty much know that I'm just going to be expending a lot of energy. So I'm just still doing pretty good on conserving my energy, keeping my heart rate down. See, I'm below 190, which is pretty good for me. And we're right now up to 29, like a while ago, 29 miles per hour. But that might just be everyone just sprinting out the corner. What I like about this course is like having this big gentle like curve means that you get to keep most of the speed. You don't have to like brake, so you don't have to like sprint out the corners as much. Like usually the corners, like keeping on sprinting out of them is what usually gets me. I think my fitness is not really adapt to like surging a whole bunch. I'm more like of those type to just keep my power on, just keep pushing through. So that's something also I'm like aware of during these races, just keeping my, saving my legs, saving the sprints towards the end. Here, like you see the pack in the distance, it's opening. There's distance already, the gap's opening up. I wasn't really aware of this at this point, so I just hop onto someone's wheel. But after a while, like I just started to move up, and I see the gap is already open. And at this point, I was like a little bit panicking. So you see my power was going up, and I just get into the aero position and started chasing. Because I know that during these crit races at such high speeds, like I can't hold 30 miles per hour on my own, and so I was just like, I'm not letting the pack go, because I know if I let the pack go, I'm pretty much done for the race. So I just started getting my power higher up, and luckily there's other riders that came with me. I'm able to get into another rider's wheel just to conserve some energy, and luckily before this corner we catch back up while everyone is like slowing down for the corner. So we're back. Line straight. So here, just during this straight, I think I really took advantage of the tailwind, so I'm just able to keep my power down. And if you check out my Strava activity later after the video, you'll see my power was, I believe my average power was like 199. So that's like way below my FTP, which is, I think that's pretty good. But I feel like I could have done more to like towards the end to power through, as you'll see later. But for the most part of the race, I think I did a pretty good job of keeping my power down while staying with the pack. And you'll see throughout this race, I just keep myself focused, keep myself aware of what's happening around me, try not to overlap wheels. Here, I think there was someone on my left, that's why I wasn't slotting in. But yeah, just we're mostly together right now, and there's plenty of wheels to follow. And also, I forgot to mention that during these races, there's also preem laps. So you get like cash prizes or like other prizes for winning different laps in the race. Because I wasn't like ever thinking about going for those. Because I know that if I really try to go for those, for one, I'm probably not going to win. For the other thing is that if I go for those laps, I'm just going to expend all my energy and probably going to get dropped by the peloton, and also probably get lapped by the peloton. So I'm definitely not going to do that at my current fitness. Maybe in the future, if I get fitter, if I'm able to like keep up with the pack better, I might go for those. Who knows? But for this race, I'm just like focusing on my end result and trying to conserve as much energy as possible. And I believe the winner of the race is this guy in front of me, the one with the white jersey and the white socks. But yeah, I was like, coming into this race, I knew a few riders like from other races like the Mount Tabor series, but I wasn't like, I didn't know everyone at the race, and so I didn't really know who was like really strong and who's willing to follow. So hopefully in the future races, like after doing more races like these, I learned to identify who's really strong and likely to win, so I can perhaps follow their wheels more. And that's like also comes into experience. Like after racing doing more races, you'll learn to observe and find who's like the strongest out of the pack. So that's like, so you can follow them in the races and just do better at the end. And also like from these races, I'm also just learning to see where other people are positioning and how other people are doing things, and I'm just like trying to see what sets them apart from myself and how they're doing things that's making them win. So perhaps in the future I can also do the same things and hopefully do better. And here you see we're like slowly getting towards the end, so everyone is slowly starting to speed up. Although it's not like that noticeable at the front, but you can see people are like moving about because they're trying to gain positions at the end to try to set up for their sprint or whatever towards the end. So you see much more movements from the pack later on during the race. you just see the riders on the inside, you can see that like taking the inside line, they usually gain 1 bike length or like a half bike length ahead. So that might be something I want to focus on in the future races, just like trying to see if the inside line is available, because that's like the part of reasons that even on the outside I have to I'm usually coasting through the corners, so it kind of nullifies the benefit of taking the outside line. Usually on the outside you can pedal through the corners, but during this race there weren't like too many people, so we were able to if you're on the inside, you're able to just not brake and just coast through. So just taking the inside line, I think, is the better choice for this race. And here you see in the headwind section, you'll see the pack get strung out, so people become one, like just single file. That's because everyone is trying to get into other people's draft, and nobody wants to like be the one in the front. So this leads to everyone just coming together and being in one line. But you'll see during the tailwind section on the finish straight, you'll see everyone is again just bunching up and being more like spread out. And here during these corners I get a little bit gap, so I have to expend some energy to try to catch up. Luckily there's other riders to fill the gap, so I didn't have to do too much work. Here, yeah, I'm surging again, because I just didn't want to. You see, I slowly close the gap because you don't want to like close the gap really fast, because that's like usually if you close the gap too fast, you have too much extra like speed you have to scrub off, like either through coasting or just slightly tapping your brakes. So you want to slowly, smoothly close the gap. And during the corners, in other races, if people like tend to brake a lot or coast through the corners, one thing you can do is also to just open a little gap like up before the corners and just like coast before that. So you don't have to like scrub your speed coming into the corners. You can just conserve all your speed, and then when you come out the corners, since you're conserving all your speed, you don't have that much of a gap that open up. I tried to do that like early on during the race, but later on during the race, I think I was just more focused on just staying with the wheel in front of me and just drafting. So that's something you can try out in your races. Towards the end, so this race is 35 minutes long, and I believe the race organizers were announcing like 4 laps ago or something like that. So during these races, even though it says like it's timed, just like 35 minutes, the race organizer is going to tell you how many laps are left towards the end, so you know how to pace yourself. That's why you don't want to like go on breakaways too early. You want to like go on breakaways perhaps once you know how many laps are left over, so that's the way you can better pace yourself. And one regret I think from this race was like I felt like I could have gone harder to like get on a breakaway, but I wasn't like confident enough during the race to do that. So perhaps like in future races, once I have more experience, and maybe even the next crit I race in, maybe I'll try to go on a breakaway to see how it goes. Maybe I'll just get catched immediately, like 5 seconds in, I just get caught. I don't even know if you call that a breakaway, but perhaps maybe I'll stick for like half a lap or 1 lap. That might be pretty cool. Like even though I might not get anything out of the breakaway, I feel like just being in a breakaway for the first time would be a really fun experience, since you'll get the feeling of like just time trialing by yourself while trying to like keep away from the pack. And yeah, to me, that just the thought of that is very exciting. And yeah, towards the end, since the more like the faster the pack is through the corners and out the corners, the more I had to surge at the end. That's why you want to be at the front of the pack so you get to conserve your speed. And I try to do that like during the straightaway, try to follow some people's wheels, try to move up as much as I can, but yeah, people are just more focused on drafting this part, so it's not too much moving like up from this point. At this point, like, I think there was a rider in a breakaway. You'll see, like, pretty sure there was a rider somewhere. So I think we were just at this point, we're just trying to catch up. And here, like, I guess this opportunity, I sprint a little bit to try to get ahead, to, like, get through the corners, try to be at the front. But at this point, I didn't like get into anyone's wheels, so I'm just like eating wind at this point. And yeah, here luckily I get on someone's wheel and we maintain our speed. And yeah, you hear the announcer, we have 2 laps to go, so this is like where the fun begins. This is where people start to speed up. Yeah, so just like keeping it, yeah, I'm a little bit, power's a little bit all over the place, 400, 300, 200. Yeah, so at this point, like again here, I'm just like out front, out the side. I'm just eating wind, so I try to tuck in as much as possible. I think there was a rider. Yeah, there's a rider next to me, so I wasn't able to do too much drafting through the corners. And right here, unfortunately, my race cuts out. My battery somehow, I think it stopped. So that's the end of the race for me. I'm pretty sure there's other racers that posted videos on YouTube, so go ahead and check them out. So I finished this race 16th place out of 38 people. So which is like, I think it's decent for me. I felt that I have a lot of work still to work on for racing a crit, which includes like positioning and knowing when to move up and how to move up. But this one, this race was a pretty fun experience for me. Like I was able to move around the pack freely, and I look forward to doing more crits in the future. And with that, thank you for watching and tuning in. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.